Hey, everybody, and welcome to Ben and Nate's Questions That We Ask People on the Internet. I'm one half of your host, Nate Fay. I'm a licensed massage therapist, an osteopathic manual therapist. And when I'm not in my practice up here in Connecticut, I'm on the road teaching for Dalton Myoskeletal alignment techniques.
And I am Ben Stone, your co-host to Ben and Nate's Questions We Ask People on the Internet. I've been a massage therapist for over 20 years, and there's not much I haven't done in the massage world. I was just thinking about that earlier today. I've done a lot of things in the massage world. Doesn't mean I've done them well, but I've done some stuff. And one of the things that I'm doing right now is asking people questions on the internet with my good friend Nate Fay. We're into episode 34 of Questions That We Ask People, and this is great because I wasn't sure if we would make it past episode 10, but here we are. 34 episodes later, and I think we have 3 or 4 listeners. And what did you tell me earlier, Nate? We're big in Peru?
I got an email the other day that we're getting listens in Peru.
And you know, what did I hear one time? David Hasselhoff is really big in Germany, and so we got a following. We got like 2 people following in Peru. So to those of you listening out there in Peru, we were trying to figure out what language do you speak in Peru? Is it Portuguese or is it Spanish? I'm not sure, but I don't know how to speak either of those. So thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. It's like when these old heavy metal bands go to Japan and they're huge, right?
Oh yeah,
we're huge in Peru, and I think that's a good thing. And Ben, you know, you said that you did some things well in the massage industry. I think we do this well.
Oh, how could we not? I mean, we've talked about it before. If we had no listeners, we would still be doing this, and we would still be doing it well, because if there's anything worth doing, it's worth doing right, and we're doing it. We're doing it.
We're doing it. So, hey, time and temperature check out there in Nebraska, Ben. What's cooking out there?
Currently, we're sitting at 32 degrees with looking at a high of 57 today. Next week, we're gonna be getting close to the 80s, 70s for a high. Where are you sitting at, Nate, out east?
Cold today. We've had bad wind yesterday and today, so we're still sitting in the 30s today, but we're gonna start scaling up into the 60s over the next week. And
it's interesting how far apart we are, but how similar our weather patterns have been. Because just this last week, we had a pretty big windstorm, along with blowing snow, that kind of thing. But yet, I'd have to throw a rock probably about 6,000 times to get to where you are.
Right. But it's my favorite time of the year. It's my favorite time of the year, and the clocks go back to where they belong, which is lighter later. So I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, so let me ask you about that. Would you be in favor of keeping the time? What is this? We're going into standard time? Is that what we're going into?
You know, educate me, because it's like the old, you know, are we putting the clocks ahead or are we pulling them back tonight? It's so confusing. So
yeah, we go ahead.
Forward, we know that, right? We know that much. So then technically we're going to be back in standard time?
I think so, versus saving time.
Got it. Well,
I don't know where we save it. Is that a bank account? Do we get interest on that? Can I make a withdrawal? Like, what's the deal?
You're going to start earning crypto coin on that interest. That's what I'm hearing. So bonus. However, I'm a fan of whatever's going to take place at 2 a.m. this morning, and I know that it's going to be light out at 7:30 tomorrow night. I'm a fan of that.
Well, and that changes when the sun rises. So the sun won't rise until roughly, here it doesn't rise until roughly, it will rise at about 8 o'clock. So it goes from 7 o'clock to rising at 8 o'clock, which means it will get darker, but the sun continues to rise earlier and earlier. I know this because I've been taking pictures of sunrises. It's part of one of my hobbies. But at some point, the sun will rise at about 5 a.m. So having the sun, or having the time moved a little bit ahead, helps that the sun's not coming up at 4 a.m. because I don't need the sun waking me up at 4 a.m.
Yeah. Who needs that in their life? Nobody.
No.
Well, Ben, I think if we had a few massage therapists listening to us, all this chatter about time, we might have. No, we didn't lose anybody yet, did we? Is everybody still with us?
Looks like it.
Looks like it. What do you got for me this week, buddy?
Oh man, we were having a little bit of a chat earlier, and we'll get into that. I think we're gonna do some freestyling again today. We have some questions that we've posed out to people in the internet land, but we got talking earlier, and we just like, hey, let's just do our own thing today. You know,
Oh,
let's maybe review really quickly how the show works. We ask people questions on the internet, and they respond. Tell me a little bit more about that, Nate.
yeah. Once a week or so, Ben and I try to pose a question on Facebook regarding the massage industry, and we want you to answer those questions, and then we put together the show based off of your responses.
And we love it when we get your input because this show is so much better when we get to hear from you. When we know that we're not just talking to blank air. Is that what they call it in radio? Blank air?
I
I don't
think
know
we
what
do.
yeah.
But Ben, when I put our episodes up on Spotify, I listen to us. I want you to know that.
And when I'm editing these episodes, I listen to us several times in a row, which is so fun.
Excellent. Well, good sir, it's Saturday morning here. It's 9:30 my time, which I think it's what 8:30 your time.
8:30 Central Standard.
What's in the cup this morning?
I'm just going with a little bit of early morning bubbler again.
Yeah, nice. I'm going Starbucks espresso roast this morning.
Nice.
Kickstart my day, and then I think after you and I record this, now that the snow's melted and the ground's a little bit more hardened up out there, we've probably got about 4 months of dog waste. So I'm going to be tackling that today.
Tell you what, you mentioned that. I go out to a local park here to take pictures in the morning, and there has been 6 months of dog waste, that people just, and they freeze and it doesn't go anywhere. And I don't walk on the paths. I stay near the water. I go into stuff. And if there's dog poop out there, my shoes will find it.
Yeah,
I
they
have
sure will.
stepped in so much poo in the last few weeks that it's driving me nuts.
Yeah, it's rough. It's really rough. So I'm looking forward to not looking forward to taking on this long project today. So
Well, that's why
Ben,
you have kids, right? You can.
sometimes, most of the time not. This is a different era. This isn't your 80s parenting, where you could just pull them out of bed and threaten them with a yardstick.
They're not looking for an allowance, huh?
No, definitely
Yeah.
not. They don't care anymore. So
Well,
Ben,
yeah.
I need a good joke to get us started today.
Oh, I was going through some jokes and I came across some stuff, some like headline news stuff, and I want to get a little bit serious. And I want to ask you, did you hear about the kidnapping at school?
Ben, I did not hear about the kidnapping in school.
Well, it's going to be okay because she did wake up. She's fine now. She woke up.
Excellent. Excellent.
I had you there for a second, didn't I?
That's why we like telling dad jokes. He laughs every time.
Ugh. This is
All
a good
right.
one. Yeah.
So listen, Ben and I were going to do a formal episode today based off of one of our questions, but then we got just catching up a little bit. We haven't talked to each other in a couple weeks, and we started talking about memberships and gift cards and price increases and how that, we've all got to increase our prices, first of all, as time goes on, right? Not only staying with the times, but when you sort of review your bills and review your year, and you have to see where you have to kick it up a notch, and let alone experience, right? Well, you've been doing this now for 20 years, Ben. I mean, you're not charging $65 anymore.
I started at $45 an hour.
45. Wow. So you had a long way to the top then. 20
Yeah.
years later to increase those prices. So I know we've talked about this a little bit before in past episodes, but let's briefly start there. Let's just talk about the quick history of, maybe 20 years ago charging 45, 65, and why we might increase our prices and what maybe average prices are looking like now.
Yeah, I mean, tell me how you decided on your price at the very beginning. Like, how did you decide I'm going to charge this much an hour?
Yeah.
What factored into that decision for you?
I think it was just pounded in my head at school. You charge $65 an hour. And that was end of story. That was the standard. And in my first couple years, right, I was kind of just jumping around, not knowing what to do and taking some random massage jobs here and there. And then ultimately when I settled to working in a chiropractic office, it was $65 a session. It's the way it was. And then
Yeah,
I was
and
getting a split of that. So, oof.
commission, yeah. And we did have an episode about how to
Right.
price yourself and that kind of thing. But a lot of us, we just look at what other people are charging and like, hey, I'm going to charge
Yeah.
that without actually, I think in general, massage therapists are good at wanting to be massage therapists. But then you get into the business part, and maybe some of us are not so good at the business part because
Sure.
there are things we have to do as a business owner, raising
Yeah.
prices, talking about, drama where people maybe their check bounced. I've had that happen before. We have to deal with those things. And as massage therapists, we don't want, I mean, in general, I don't think anyone wants to bring up drama, and there's emotion tied into that. So when I have to tell people I'm raising my prices, they are going to say, well, I don't know that I can afford that. Or at least that's the story I'm telling myself in my head. Like potential customers are going to say, I don't think I can continue to afford you. And then what do you say? And then, that's all brings anxiety up. And
Right.
am I good enough? All those things. I think we talked about imposter syndrome in the past also.
Yeah, for sure. And I think too, there was those years of right, those thoughts in your head, and then of course the whole people are calling, well, how come you don't accept insurance and that sort of thing? And and I thought about that a long time ago that if you have insurance coverage, say for like PT or chiropractic, I mean, out of pocket, you're still paying usually a pretty heavy copay for a lot of those services, and then not considering that you're going 2 to 3 times a week, thus spending that money essentially. I mean, if you're spending $120 a week in copays alone, that could be the price of one session, right? Every couple weeks. And that's the story that I started telling myself. But then when it comes down to it, you realize that these are just stories made up in our head, and our clients aren't thinking about that at all because they already see a lot of value in you, right? You can't, I don't know, my chiropractor friend used to say this to me, and I don't know if I ever really knew what it meant, but it sounded good. But he always said you can't have value in something that doesn't have any value. Whereas we bring a lot of value to the table in terms of time, the depth of our sessions, right? Listening to people, and people really feel like we're spending more time uncovering whatever they came in or whatever reason they wanted to come into your practice for. And that's a long time to spend somebody, an hour.
That is interesting because the basis for everything that we do or any good business does is you have to be good at what you do.
Hmm.
And how do you know that you're good at what you do?
How do you know? Well, I think there's a lot of ways to tell. And I want to just say one more thing before we talk about that too, is that some of my clinical social worker friends, that do talk therapy and couples counseling and stuff like that. Man, an hour session out of pocket, no insurance coverage. I've seen the gamut of $250 to $450 a session, and they're getting it like no questions asked, out of pocket. And, so that brings me into, how do you know you're good enough? Hey, if you've got 15 people a week paying you $250 to $450 an hour, I guess maybe that tells you you're good enough. Or the fact that your practice is solely built off of word of mouth and referrals, that could tell you that you're good enough. What else?
Yeah, I was having a conversation earlier this week with my coworker. No, she's not a coworker, but she works in the same office as I do, and we were talking about raising prices and how much time we're spending in the office. And she said something. We were talking about, how do you know if you're busy enough or you're doing the right things? And she said, "Well, my schedule is full."
Yeah.
And I think that's plain and simple. That lets you know, even so, if your schedule's full and you have a waiting list, that's a pretty good indicator that you're doing something right, whatever it is. I know imposter syndrome creeps into my head, and I'm always looking at what can I do better? What can I do? How can I improve myself? But when my schedule's full, that's telling me I'm doing something right. And that's
Yeah.
also an indicator like, hey, if my schedule's full and I have people waiting to see me, maybe it's time to raise my prices.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I did just that recently. I got really overwhelmed in the last 2 months with new client calls. And I finally just said, you know what? Screw it. This is my price if you want to come in as a new client right now. And I went probably, I don't know, I think I almost went $15 higher than what I was charging my regular clients. And you know what, Ben? Nobody blinked. Nobody blinked at all.
Yeah, and there's always the possibility you're going to lose somebody, but
Yeah,
then
sure.
that opens up space to bring in someone new.
And listen, if your schedule is full and you have a waiting list, if somebody says no, then they say no. It is what it is. And at the end of the day, I think Arnold, a guy by the name of Arnold Schwarzenegger said this, like they'll be back, right? They will be back, guaranteed. Guaranteed.
And you know what? Pricing is flexible. If you realize that you've priced yourself too high and people are running, guess what? It's a discount or I'm lowering my prices. I mean,
Right.
it can go both ways. We don't want to ever lower our prices, but it's a possibility, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I enjoy getting tattoos, right?
Yeah.
It's that's like my, I don't know if I'd call it a hobby or what, but that's kind of my thing, and it's something I've been into for a long time. So on a recent visit to Mr. Tim Brewer, who's about an hour north of me, who I go pay a visit to every so often,
Yay,
we're
Tim.
talking. Tim's the man. And by the way, Tim is one of these guys, and I think this goes into our conversation. Every time I see him, which is maybe once a year or once every 2 years or so, and he's been doing this for 30 years. And he's about our age, so he started pretty young, right? He started probably 18, 19 years old, and he's got this booming shop. It's like I've never seen a tattoo shop like this. He's got 8 people working under him, renting space, apprenticing. It's just unbelievable the output that they're putting out. And when I go and see him, everybody in there is working and cranking away.
Nice.
And I said to Tim last time, he does a lot of art as well. He does paintings and that kind of stuff, and he gets more into that. So he's a multifaceted artist, in terms of tattooing plus painting and that sort of thing. You can tell I'm not an artist because I don't really know the right words to use. And every time I go see Tim, I'm like, dude, I'm like, you're one of the guys that is continuing into their career, the longevity of your career, and you get better every time I see you, right? And we were talking about that, like, what are ways that he could improve? Like, what are ways that he improves in the tattoo world? Because it's like us, like there's only so many techniques and variations on them, right? So people come in with whatever they want on their arm or their leg or their back, but what about like the tattoo gun that you're using? Does that technology improve? Or the ways to heal tattoos, does that improve? And he was like, well, yeah, it does, and I've got this new equipment, and we're working with this new like it's a wrap that you put on your arm, so it diminishes the healing time by like 3 weeks or something like that. So it's really cool that he's just stays on that. And plus, I look at all his art in his office, and I'm like, you just get better every time I see you. You know, it's like phenomenal. And anyway, I guess all this to say that we started talking about prices. And Tim is booked out 3 months ahead of time. So his book is full 5 to 6 days a week for 3 months. And I would think the average person, and Tim only takes big pieces, right? So, like, if you're going to get something from him, you have to spend the day with him. You know, it's got to be like a full arm or a back or whatever. And, you know, he's built this part of his career that way. So we're talking about like prices, and you know his prices have gone up significantly since I met him, you know, gosh, 20 years ago now. So his prices have gone up, which absolutely. So I was like, well, what do you do? Do you do gift certificates or do you do like anything like that? Um, because I had actually received a gift certificate for him for Christmas. So he was telling me about this idea because we hear a lot about memberships in the massage industry. I see a lot of places like Massage Envies do a membership. Sometimes I'll see like some of our fellow colleagues do that. And I could never fully wrap my head around it. And Tim told me he does this thing called the gold card. And he sold 10 of them at Christmas, right? So 10 gold cards to the price of $400 each. Now, this was just a membership card. It's not a gift card. It has no cash value. It can't be used towards a session. It just says that you've committed yourself that for the rest of your life, you're going to get Tim's low price. So Tim charges $200 an hour, I think. This gold card says you're going to pay $100 an hour. And he sold 10 of them. And he was like, this was perfect because it was, you know, it's the holidays, you know, you want an extra, maybe a few bucks for Christmas or whatever holiday that you celebrate. And I'm like, well, how quickly did you sell them? He goes, they were sold before I even advertised them. He says, I sold them based off of telling my own clients, and they were all sold before I put them on my website. So he sold 10 of these gold cards, and, you know, it was $4,000 in his pocket. And I thought that was a tremendous idea.
It's a great idea. And the wheels are spinning in my head because that's what I do. I think about stuff. Um, and I think one of the things I mentioned to you earlier is massage therapists, we're good at massage, but maybe not so necessarily good at the business part. And that's why I hire people or I go seek advice from people who know a little bit more about the business side of things. But I think with, you know, I wonder what the average frequency of visit is for, say, Tim doing tattoos. You know, maybe
Right.
like you, once a year, once every couple years. So I think something like that sounds fantastic. So I'm thinking in my head, how would that work with massage therapy, where I would think our frequency of visits is going to be a little bit more often?
Probably going to be a little bit more for sure. So maybe if you did something like that, you could maybe come up with a different price point, you know, and whatever the case is because of that frequency. I don't
Check
know. I
this
just
out.
like it. You
I
know,
came
go
up with
for it.
something in my head. I
Let's hear it.
say you do the same thing. You sell a gold card, but instead of limiting yourself to say $100 a visit, you say every time you come in for now to the rest of whenever you're done, you get $15 off
Yeah.
every time
There
you
you
come
go.
in.
Right. So something
I
like
just
that.
solved it. There we go.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? All you 10 people listening out there, I just solved it for you. If you use this, let me know because I want to know how it goes because I think I might
Yeah.
use it myself.
I've been considering it. I think not right now, but come next holidays, I think I'm gonna test the waters and see how that goes. Because listen, I think that leads us in nicely to this. I'm gonna say something, Ben. It's gonna be controversial.
All right, I'm ready.
There's been a lot of controversial things said in the world these days, but
Oh, yeah.
this could beat that.
Okay,
I,
lay it on me.
I probably shouldn't do the hand gestures. I hate gift cards. I hate them. I don't want them. I don't like them. And I have people tell me, kind of like Tim's gold card, I have people tell me that they love it because all of a sudden around Christmas they sell, I've heard people tell me six, eight, $10,000 in gift cards, and they love it because they're gonna never see these people, like a gym membership, like the January gym membership. And my experience with that is it sounds good on paper. So we can't expire gift certificates in Connecticut. I think some states do have variable laws about that. I can only say Connecticut, you cannot expire your gift certificates. So it's like, okay, you sold a gift certificate for $65 in 2008, and now it's 2025, and you get the old, oh, I found this in my sock drawer and I'd like to redeem this right now. Do you have an appointment tomorrow? That's always the story. I
Yeah.
need to use this, and do you have an appointment tomorrow? And you're booked out like 2.5 months. So what say you, buddy?
Uh, there's benefit to gift cards, and I've used them in the past, but I'm like you. You get to a point where you're busy enough, gift cards become more of a hassle. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of states are similar. You can't have an expiration date on a gift card, but I think after so many years, you I don't know about required, but you're suggested to make an attempt to return those funds to the original purchaser, or
Sure.
you turn it into unclaimed properties with the state and they hold on to that. But that means you're giving up that money that you got.
Right.
And I think I also told you of a little story about a local grocery store. I bought my mom a gift card for groceries because who can't use some groceries?
You need them.
And 2 years later, she's rummaging around in her purse and she pulls out this gift card. And I was like, Mom, what are you doing? You're supposed to use that. She's like, oh, I forgot. So I look at the card, and on the back it says, after 12 months of non use, you will be charged a dormant account fee of $2 per month. So
Yeah.
I don't know all the legal mumbo jumbo around this, but I didn't question it. I was like, well, you're probably half your gift card's gone. But that's also something that I think could be done in the world of people who are using gift cards as massage therapists.
And what I do is if somebody comes in and they're an existing client, and it's the existing client's brother, sister, mom, or dad, and I've never met them before, and all of a sudden, someone walks in and says, "Oh, my wife has been coming to see you forever. I'd like to pay for her next few sessions." I absolutely do that, right? Because they're on the books, they're there. So I will let people do that and prepay other people's sessions that are already existing. But if you're new clients, if I've had no relationship with you, I just won't do it. I won't. Not gonna do it.
Well, so have you ever? I'm trying to think of some positives to gift cards because if someone doesn't have their
Sure.
schedule full, I mean, selling gift cards is a great way to
Totally.
for people to share, how the work that you do. Hey, I'm gonna buy my, I don't know, my son's teacher a gift card for you. Hey, great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, if I wonder too, maybe given the type of practice that probably I run or that you run or some people run versus maybe like a spa setting, right? Like spas are huge around the holidays, right? They're huge all year round, but particularly Valentine's Day. What else? Valentine's Day, maybe not St.
Mother's
Patrick's
Day.
Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas,
Yeah.
Hanukkah, right? All the holidays. Labor Day. Hey, it's Labor Day, man. You need to get a facial, right?
Yeah.
So I think in the cases of like spa environments, I could see gift cards just not only going a long way, but probably putting like a lot of money in your pocket pretty quickly around those time frames, with the potential of you know, who knows if you're ever going to see those people again.
That's the thing I was thinking about is when I was dealing more with gift cards, when they did come in, it was pretty rare that they would come
Right.
back.
I think I read an overall statistic recently, and this was a broad-based thing that like I forget the number. I think it was like 70-80% of gift cards don't ever get renewed. And
Mm-hmm.
that was just as a whole across the board.
Makes sense. So in the line of gift cards, do we bring up and talk about Groupon at all? Because that is a type of
Do you
gift
remember
card.
that? Does Groupon still exist?
I think it does.
I haven't. I kind of forgot about that. And when I opened up Hazardville Wellness, so I came out of my chiropractic office in 2014, and I opened up Hazardville Wellness here, my own practice. And you have different visions and goals when you open up your own practice, what you want to do. So I had, my initial thought was I'm going to have two other massage therapists with me. And, that I was like trying to get them going, and Groupon circa 14, 15 was like still like a big thing. And oh my God, what
Yeah. So
a
tell us
nightmare.
for
But yeah,
people
we'll
that
get into it.
tell us for people that haven't used Groupon, what's how does it work? What's the deal?
The gist of it is Groupon had amassed probably target marketing, right? They were probably ahead of their time with like target marketing, email lists and everything like that, certainly in that era. And basically, like you would sign up with them. Okay, so Ben Stone is going to sell Ben Stone's normal massage is $90, right? But you're going to sell it on Groupon for $45. And Groupon's going to take 50% of that, and Ben's going to get 22.50 per massage. So you're going to make $22.50 per massage. All right. And all of a sudden, they sell 250 of them in like a day. And all of a sudden, your phone just starts ringing of everybody wants. And then we talked about how gift certificate people don't call you, but Groupon folks, man, your phone was a ringing nonstop. I was walking into my practice in that era. I didn't do Groupon for myself, but I did it for the two other massage therapists to try to get them busy. And oh my God, it was like, I mean, 8 to 10 voicemails a day trying to find spaces for these people. Why do I have to wait 3 weeks? And it was just like the whole thing. And nobody's making any money, right? Nobody's making any money.
Groupon's making money.
Groupon's making money. And, what we quickly learned, well, a couple things, because part of me as a what I consider like a pretty good business person was trying to give them, meaning the other therapists, scripting, like how can you rebook these people? So we talked about some like different scripts to say, like and I don't quite remember, but it's something along the lines of like, hey, like I know you're coming to see me, and my sessions are normally $90, and you paid $45 to come and see me today. Greatly appreciate it. Good working with you. Maybe give him the spiel. I noticed he had some low back pain. So in order to help your low back pain out, I'd like to maybe see you in a couple weeks to help you out with that further. And I know that you only paid $45. So at least for my next session to have you come back, you know, I'll give you one more discount and charge you $75 or something like that. Like something along those lines to get them back in the door, you know, give them another discount. But your scripting is in the hands of other people, whether they use it or not. And of course they didn't use it. And it was just a total like, oh, it was so awful. It was so awful.
And you're targeting those people that are looking for a discount.
Yeah,
They're not
yeah.
looking for the value of body work and helping their issues. They just saw, oh, look at this. I can get 50% off massage. I'm going to do that.
I had this client who, this was a long time ago. I had this client, and this has happened a few times in my career, and I bet it's happened to you too. But I've had like young people be like, "Hey man, you inspired me to be a massage therapist. I'm going to go to massage school." Right? So I've heard that a few times in my life, and that's like, whoa, it's like mind-blowing. So this person became a massage therapist from coming to see me, opens up her own practice, does a Groupon, with no, I mean, she's brand new. I mean, think about like your first time being a massage therapist. So, great therapist, but 0.0 business skills. And it put her out of business. I felt it crushed her. It crushed her because now all of a sudden you had sold 350 of these things. She's a one woman show. People are getting pissed off in terms of like they want an appointment, but now you're booked 3 months out with, making $10 an hour for massages and you're doing 8 sessions a day. You're making $60 for the day. So now you're growing bitter and tired and angry. And now people are mad at you. And oh my God, what a nightmare for her. I felt so bad for her.
Yeah, my approach with Groupon is it's not meant for anyone who has a service or time-based industry. If you're selling a widget, Groupon's great because you can knock those things out. You can get them to people.
Right.
But massage, I'm trying to think of some other ones. Whatever, chiropractic, photographers, anyone that spends time doing. There's no way Groupon is going to pay out for
Right.
you.
Yeah. And I remember the era. It seems, you brought it up and I don't even know. I mean, I know they still exist, but thank whatever you believe in that you don't hear massage therapists talking about this as a form of advertising anymore. I feel like the massage industry, hopefully as a whole, has turned their back on that company.
Yeah, if you have to turn to Groupon for help, don't come to
Right.
Nate and I. We'll help you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and you're almost better off just I don't know. I don't know what you're better off doing, but
Yeah.
certainly wasn't that, man. Those were wild. That was the Wild West back then.
So we talked
So,
about Groupon. What are your thoughts about a membership type approach? Like I know Massage Envy is big into memberships. But what's your thoughts about
yeah.
memberships in general for massage therapists?
I can't wrap my head around it. And this is where I'd like to talk to somebody that I'm sure there's somebody out there that's like really good at it and has a good business model wrapped around memberships. But I get the feeling that you're charging so much per month, right? Automatically, like an automatic withdrawal from people. And maybe they get so many sessions a month, right? At a supposed discount at that point. Is that how they typically work, Ben?
I mean, I looked into Massage Envies, and basically the way it works is you have an automatic withdrawal that comes out of your account for, let's just say, $100.
Okay.
If you are a member, you pay the membership price. They let you come in one time as a non-member, for, I think it's a higher price. It's, let's just say, $140. But that's how they get you. They say, well, if you're a member, you get massage for $100, and you come in once a month. And I'm like you, how I don't see the value in that because, if I were to tell my people, hey, I'm starting a membership, like they're already coming in once a month. There's
Right.
nothing I can offer them. Maybe if I were to be able to add something of value to their visit, like I don't even know what that would be.
If there's anything that I've kind of learned over the years is that whenever I've tried to like deviate a little bit, your clients, I've just found that my clients know me for who I am, and I think you're right. Like if I tried to do a membership, my clients would just look at me and say, well, I'm already coming to see you. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. So
Yeah, and then if they can't come in, now you have a massage rolled over. Like, how are they
right.
going to get in anyway if you're already booked? And now they've got 5 massages built up that you now owe them for, and that could just get messy.
Just feels like a lot to manage. Feels like a lot to manage. And listen, if you're doing it like and you're successful at it, we want to hear from you. Comment below, comment below. Uh sorry, Ben, hold on.
And we're looking at this from the point of view of a solo therapist. So this might be something that could be more beneficial, for a place that has multiple massage therapists. So possibly like a salon and spa type place, or that kind of
Sure.
thing. So I think looking at it from just how you and I operate is, we're limiting ourselves, and we've been there for so long that it's hard to open up. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, and we do. I do want to learn this stuff. I'm genuinely curious about some of that, and it's things that I've tried to look into, but I never really get a clear answer. And being in a group practice, like maybe a bigger wellness center or a spa environment, I wonder too if there's this more of a reliability on you, the therapist, also getting a tip for that session. So if you work at Massage Envy, I think it's probably you as a therapist, you're also going to look for tips throughout your day from your clients, where as in an office like mine, I don't, nobody offers, nobody asks, I don't pander for it. And it's not an expected thing for me. Do you get tips?
I do.
Good.
I don't, and I tell everybody that Nebraska just passed some wording in their regulations a year or two ago that covers defines us as a healthcare service, which after
Yeah.
COVID we weren't able to work, that kind of thing. So we have some good people in some good places that helped us change the wording so that hopefully nothing should happen like COVID again, but you never know. So hopefully we won't get shut down again because we
Sure.
have that wording in place. So I always tell people, hey, you're going to tip your chiropractor, you're going to tip your dentist. I mean, I am not a doctor, but this wording puts me in the healthcare service industry, and as such, I'm not asking for tips. I don't want, I
Right.
don't want them. I turn them away because I charge what I need to charge. If someone, feels that they want to pay me more, I'm not going to turn it down,
I
but
know. I know, and and once in a while, people do. It's rare. I think I've told this story before. This actually happened about a year. Actually, it happened a year ago. Um, and one of my clients, I was getting ready to leave. She was my last client of the day. I was getting ready to hit the road for a workshop. And she says, "Hey, I just want to give you something. You've helped me out so much." And she hands me like a Snoop Dogg bankroll and just puts it in my hand. And I have no idea. Like, I just kind of like, I don't know. I get weird about that stuff. So all of a sudden I'm just like looking at her because I'm like, do you look at the money? Do I look like, what do I do? And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much. Like, you don't have to do that." And I'm thinking maybe like bankroll felt pretty thick. And I was like, this feels like a lot of money. And she left and I counted it. And it was like, I forget the amount, but it was like $300 or $400. And I was like,
wow,
holy shit.
it's a
And I
lot of
like,
ones.
yeah, I got kind of like a little, someone was cutting onions for a minute because it was just like, whoa, I can't believe that she like just thought this highly of me to not only pay her regular session rate that day, but to also give me, several $100s just because like I helped her low back and it meant that much to her. And it was like awesome. I was like, if I never get a gift like that again, I mean, like that's I'm satisfied. That was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, we did do a little episode on
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. I
gifts.
remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
back in
So
the
anyway,
back
yeah,
in our earlier
in
episodes.
the early days.
Yeah.
So memberships still questionable. I'm not sure about that, but we'd love to hear from people that have made them work. And I don't know.
Well, you mentioned tipping too, and I'm just going to throw this out there because I do feel that tipping in general has gotten out of control. I go, what did I went and picked up a pizza the other day, and they like flip around the screen and they're like, it's going to ask you a few questions. I'm like, you didn't do anything. You
No.
handed me the pizza. Like I feel like tipping should be reserved for, doing something above and beyond possibly. And, so I also don't want to fall in that category where I
Right.
expect a tip from anyone because what I do, I don't expect any kind of tipping.
I feel, it's and I'm generally a giver, so I always feel like a lot of pressure when those questions come up. And I saw a funny cartoon about that the other day, and the screen flips around. It's like, do you want to donate 10 cents to kids with cancer, and the person says no, and all of a sudden the little animated icon's like, wait a minute, you don't want to donate 10. What kind of monster are you? And okay, well, I guess I'll donate. And then the little character's name was Tippy. And how about a tip for Tippy? That kind of, and it just kept going. I realized that tipping got out of control. I went to a punk rock show about a year ago in this club in New Haven. And went and saw this old punk band, Bad Religion. And I hadn't seen Bad Religion in 30 years. So my buddy and I go. And of course, I always got to buy that's my thing. Whenever I go to a concert, I like to buy a hoodie sweatshirt. So I went to go buy my concert hoodie sweatshirt. And, going to a concert these days is pretty expensive. Although in a small club, it's pretty rare. Like Bad Religion was, I say, still only $50. Of course, 30 years ago, it was $10 to go see them. But hey, $50 will take it versus $200 to go see Kenny Chesney or something like that. And so then you go buy the sweatshirt. The sweatshirt's $75. And, the kid flips the thing around. He wanted a tip for selling. Now this guy wanted a tip for handing me a sweatshirt off the shelf. And that's the moment that I knew tipping just got completely out of control. Completely out of control. I have an obsession or an addiction to Starbucks, and I go to Starbucks every morning, and I have to give them cash. And because again, it's like if I give them cash, I'm going to save $7 a week by not feeling the pressure from that question. And they always say it like they hand the credit card machine out the window and they say, it's just going to ask you a quick question. And I hate the way they phrase it. I'm like, let's just be honest. Like, if they said something to me like, hey, if this coffee was banging and I did exceptional service today, like, heck yeah. Like, absolutely. But it's just going to ask you a quick question and they shove the thing in your face. And I'm like, oh my God. So anyway.
So true.
And then I'm like, do these people even see that? I don't even know if they're getting that.
That's
And I think
a fair
about
question.
that. I really honest when it goes through and there's 17 employees like working the drive-through, like how do they break that down at the end of the day? I don't know. I have no idea. Versus my best friend who's a bartender. And yes, tipping in that scenario, he's working his butt off, making drinks all day and serving meals and tending to the public. Sure, absolutely, totally. But oh my God, a tip because you handed me my punk rock sweatshirt off the wall.
We have gone overboard in this country. That's for sure. I wonder how tipping works in Peru.
I don't know, but I mean, we certainly know that. I know culturally in some countries, it's not a thing. It's been a while, but my Canadian friend, when she came down to the US to spend some time with me, she couldn't wrap her head around it. She had we'd go out to eat and she's like, what do I do? And she was totally could not wrap her head around it to save her life that we were leaving extra money everywhere we went.
Yeah. In Europe, it's tipping is, say your total is, $18.92. You leave them $20. And that's the tip. It's not a 20%. It's not 18%. It's just a little bit
of change or whatever. Sure. In some states now, I was traveling recently, and this was small groups, so it's not like they were putting the tip on because of a big group, but they were putting the tip on everything. Didn't matter, and they would walk over and say, "Tip's already on there," and but an additional tip line if you felt like we did well. And it was what it was. Wild. Tipping culture has gotten out of control.
Wow. So we covered a lot of stuff today. Let's do a quick review. What did we talk about first? I don't even remember.
I don't even remember. We talked about memberships.
Yep.
We talked about the idea of some sort of, I like the idea of a membership where it's a flat rate that guarantees the person a price for life. I'm
the gold card.
That. Yeah, the gold card. I'm going to kind of continue to explore that over the next year. And I think come fall, I'm going to implement that and just see how that goes. But
I like
we
that.
want to hear from you. Yeah, we want to hear from people that are doing memberships in their practice.
Yeah, I think today was a good episode. We threw out a lot of knowledge that we just kind of brainstormed for people to listen to, which I think that's valuable because how often do you sit around with massage therapists and talk about this kind of stuff? I mean, I have a few massage therapists that I do this kind of stuff with on a regular
Yeah.
basis, but it's about maybe once a month that we'll do this. But in general, how many other massage therapists get together and have conversations like this and flush out ideas that may or may not work for them, but it's part of the process.
Right. Right. It's I had the opportunity, and I know we're wrapping this up, but just quickly, I had the opportunity. I was teaching a class out in Pennsylvania last weekend, and I took an extra day there to spend the day with our good friend, the massage mentor, Diane Mitkowski.
Yay,
And
Diane.
yeah, and I got a sort of Diane and I talked to each other quite a bit, but I got sort of a deep peek in the world of Diane, and I went over and I spent a few hours at her practice and just kind of like watched her, from the background, like doing her thing with her employees and managing that and running that. And she even had me most of the reason I went there was 6 of her therapists. I don't even know how many. I think she has like 10, 8 to 10 therapists, maybe 11 or 12,
Nice.
but 6 of them were able to block off their schedule. And we just did a 2-hour like chat about myoskeletal alignment techniques. And I taught them 3 techniques. And, these are all the things that Diane is doing for her employees, like bringing educators in and doing private clinics. And I don't know why I'm talking about this, but the bottom line is it was really cool to see somebody operate this like what I would call a big practice, but a big small practice.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I think there's things that we can do to make ourselves more valuable, but also if we put ourselves in front of those people that believe in us and invest in us, I mean, that's even like Diane is. It sounds like she's investing in her
right.
people, which is huge because people feel valued and loved and cared for and all that stuff. And you got to see a part of that. And I appreciate you sharing that story with us.
I remember why I brought it up. So see, this is the part of getting old here. I
Okay.
brought it up because like not everybody's doing stuff like that. So back to like you and I like getting together and talking about this stuff, man. We're just giving it out. So we hope that you as a listener get some value. Even if you hear one thing out of these 35-minute episodes, if you hear one thing that's like, man, that's awesome, I'm going to do it. We love it.
That's right. And you're getting it for free.
Free.
Free. And where can people hear us for free?
Do you want to set up a tipping thing for us, Ben?
Ooh, that's a good idea. I did see something where it's a coffee themed tipping service that you could set up online. It's like, buy Ben and Nate a coffee, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
that's right. Maybe next time. But
Maybe
hey,
next time in
hey,
the
hey,
future.
if you want to listen to us, take a listen to us on Spotify and or Apple Podcasts, YouTube if you want to watch us, and of course, please like and follow. Make sure you hit that follow button for Ben and Nate's questions that we ask people on the internet, so you can stay up to date when we're releasing these episodes and putting out our questions. We've got some questions out there right now that we haven't discussed yet, so those will be talked about on our next couple episodes.
That's right. And I always ask you, we just talked about it, but how people can support the show. But I'm gonna flip it around like you like to do and call it the Uno reverse card and say, how can we
Mhm.
support you? Because you're out there doing the stuff that we're talking about. Nate and I both have over 20 years of experience. So how can we help support you? Let us know what questions you have because we'll add those into future episodes because we want to be here for you.
That's right. We want to be here for you. And we know that when you're out there choosing your podcast options to listen to, we appreciate you choosing our podcast.
That's right. We hope we did a excellent and superb job. And if you think that we did, I'm just going to flip the screen around and it's going to ask you a few questions. Like that? You like that?
All right. See you next time for episode 35.
Thanks for listening.
Bye bye.